Hello, everyone. I am here today with a superstar. I am super blessed to have just read her book, Choices. Audrina Patridge is an amazing woman who's been on quite a journey. You maybe have seen her on the hills. Maybe you're like me and you grew up watching her, or you've seen her in countless magazines, or you've stumbled upon her Instagram, or maybe you're a follower. She is amazing, and she is here today, and she is and has bared it all for us to help serve us, especially my women. And I just have so much respect for you. I really do. Aww. And I know God is smiling down on you, and he's so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, writing that book was really hard, and God was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. And I talk about that in the book too. And just even with going through my divorce and it being public and having to go to the courthouse and, God was a big part of it just to get through that hard time in my life.
Yeah. It's so evident that you have just leaned into your faith. And I want to dive in to that during this show, but let's just take us back. Take everybody back. How did this even begin? Were you just I want to be a reality TV star? How did you stumble upon it, or were you seeking it out? Tell us your whole journey.
Well, I didn't even know what reality TV was back then. There was the Nick and Jessica Simpson show. Yeah. There was Road Rules or some of those MTV shows, but that's it. So I moved to LA. I was doing modeling and a little bit of acting and music video acting, and when I was 17. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 18, I moved to LA. And I talk about this in the book too, but I did go to OCC here in Orange County. Originally, I wanted to be a psychologist because I felt like I was a therapist for all my friends anyways, and I just loved helping people and listening and I don't know, I was always that person people came to. So it just felt natural, and I loved it. I loved helping people. But I really, in my heart, I loved acting and modeling in the entertainment industry, and it just, I don't know, it sparked something in me, and it made me feel alive. So I moved to LA when I was 18, and I got a job at Coyote Studios, and where I lived at that time, I was laying out by the pool. And Adam DeVello, who was the producer and creator of Laguna Beach with Lauren Conrad and Christy and everybody, he was there scouting the apartment complex out for Lauren and Heidi.
Okay.
So he came up to me, and of course I kind of thought, oh God, who's this cheesy producer? Right. Another one, or is this a club guy? What do you want?
Right.
But he was legit, and he loved my story and the fact I had my established group of friends there, and the nights I went out and I lived up there. I had a real job, which was at a huge photo studio. So I was there. One of their first LA friends, Whitney and I so we were kind of casted.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later I started filming. I had no idea what I was in for, but I thought, you know what? This will be good practice for me to get comfortable in front of cameras.
Of course.
And just, why not? I don't know what it is, but I'm doing it.
Yeah. Say yes and figure it out later. Mm-hmm. And then how many years later were you filming?
Oh my gosh.
How many seasons? I mean, literally, it's the number one reality show.
Yeah. It went on for a long time. We had 6 seasons, but I don't know if it started at 4th season or 5th, but we had 5th season was 5A. And 5B. Then we had 6A and 6B. So instead of 6, we should have went 5, 6, 7, 8. It could have kept going, but we were.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So what was it like the first time this comes out and suddenly people are knowing who you are? Or was it momentum, or was it a slow process?
Honestly, I think it all happened so fast. And people really connected. They loved the show. It was shot like a soap opera. Yeah. But it was a reality show. And Adam, the producers did such an incredible job with that show. And just the formula, they had it down. They knew it worked. The music was great because it was MTV.
Yeah.
But it almost happened overnight. I remember the first time I went to the airport, because I always looked at myself and felt like I'm just a normal person.
Right.
I never really thought of myself like that. And when you live in LA, you're around a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
So you're just used to being around.
Totally.
And it doesn't feel like that because nobody's really asking for your autographs or screaming and crying in LA.
Yeah.
But when you go to the airport and go to different states, it's a different story.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my first experience, was at the airport. And this girl came up to me and she was screaming and like shaking and just kept staring at me. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? Hi. And she's like, can I have a hug? Oh my God, I love you. I'm going through the same thing as you, with the whole Justin thing.
Yeah.
And she started opening up to me and just telling me all these private things at the airport. And it was kind of surreal to me because she felt like I was her best friend, but I had no idea. I've never met the person.
Right. Yeah. So you're like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Did it like motivate you to want to share more on the show? Like, did you like that feedback, or was it just kind of interesting?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
And I think with some people I did, and then there were other people that would come up to me, like grandmas at the mall, like mothers, and they would mother me and be like, what are you thinking with Justin Bobby? Like, do you know what kind of guy that is? And I was like, no, you don't know everything.
Right.
Like, and then I'm like explaining myself to these strangers.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening? This is so weird.
It's so weird. Yeah, that's got to be so weird. And the thing, and I've heard you talk about this, is like, you're on this show, and like maybe like some of it's like true, but then of course it's reality TV show, and they want to make it great, and so then they ask you to do certain things or play it up or whatever, and so there's got to be this battle of the mind. I would bet, where you're like thinking yourself, well, that's not really accurate. It's for the show.
Yeah, there was a lot of those moments. And gosh, in my 20s, I'm not going to lie, alcohol helped me do it.
Yeah.
And it's so bad looking back now, because if I would have been in a whole different place, you know. But when you're filming a reality show, there is a lot of pressure to amp it up and to be dramatic, be confrontational, because if you don't get camera time and you're not in that episode, you're not getting paid. Or you're just going to get booted out because there's always someone new that'll replace you. So, you know, and there's a lot of pressure to be like, well, this is happening. You either, and then they call your team and say that you're not cooperating. And I never got that call.
Yeah.
I was the one that would actually have my team call. I'd be calling my lawyer being like, they're not letting me leave and I don't want to do this scene because I don't care. Like, this isn't what's really happening. So I wore my heart on my sleeve too much, and I had to learn how to separate the two and compartmentalize, and that helped me a lot.
Yeah, like work from reality, even though it's a reality TV show. Yeah. Was there ever, like, what was a moment where you were like in it and you're like, like, I got to do this, and there was that moment of like, you know, your spirit being like, no, this is wrong, but you just did it anyways?
There's been a few of those. I think the one in particular from the Old Hills in the beginning, Justin and I had a scene. I lived in the back house at Lauren's house, and there was a pool, and we had a scene together, and I guess it was kind of, I was in the pool and Justin was sitting there talking to me. We were having a talk, and it was kind of a boring scene. So Adam came out and he's like, Audrina, can I talk to you for a second? Like, you know, we got to spice this up or do something, you guys. And I was like, well, Justin, give me something. I don't know, jump in, or can I pull you in, or like, I don't know, what can we talk about or fight about? I don't know. Like, what do you want us to do? And he's like, would you be willing to take your top off and throw it at Justin and get him to come in? And Justin was my boyfriend. I was comfortable with him. So I was like, well, after the fact, I did it. Yeah. And then after, I was like, well, God, my grandma's going to watch this now. Right. Like, what did I just do? Like, what are they going to show? So there was that moment. And then another moment where gosh, it was in the Hills New Beginnings. And Sean Stewart was on. And they kept trying to pressure me to date him on the show. And, they wanted us to be together. But I was like, I'm not ready to be in a relationship, and there's no chemistry. I can't force something that's not there, and it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So they had him come to San Diego to surprise me. And at that point, Heidi was so fun, but we were both just like, you know what? We're just going to have fun. We're not going to let anything stop us from having fun. And we kept drinking champagne and champagne and champagne. And that night, the producers, I was super vulnerable and just like, and they're like, if you want a third season, everyone will thank you for it, but you need to carry this and you need to kiss Sean tonight. And I was like, what?
Wow.
Like, so we're not going to get a third season unless I kiss Sean. Like, I've never kissed anyone except for Justin on this show, and he was my boyfriend. Like, why would I just go kiss Sean? And so that's where they were like, Audrina, you have to do this. It was so much pressure. And then, of course, there's alcohol and more champagne. I'm like, ugh. So I was so frustrated. They wouldn't let it down. And so I was like, fine, let me just have another glass and I'll try. So chugged another glass. And we were sitting there and you could see all in my face. I was like, not into it. And poor Sean, it wasn't his fault. It's just when you do something against your when you do something against your will, you can't hide it. And I don't have a poker face. So watching that episode was so cringy, and it was almost like I was being so mean to Sean, but wasn't his fault. I didn't want to kiss him. Yeah. And I forced myself, and I was like, didn't want to, and you could see it all over my face. Yeah. So that was,
How did you feel like after? Like, here's what I imagine. You're filming, you're working, but then you go home. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think? What do you feel?
At that point, and I told Sean, and I looked at him like, this is just for show, right? This is not real. Yeah. This is not real. Yeah. This is literally my show life, not my real life. And I think at that point, he understood that too. So we were kind of on the same page, but then going home, I was like, why am I doing this? Like, people are going to believe all of this. Yeah. And I was going through so much personally in my real life that I could not open up about or film about. None of my real life. So I had to do, this show life, and I had a lot of different storylines. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is acting. I can do it, even though I'm playing my real self. Yeah. Like, I'll explain it later.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What was going on in your real life?
Just a lot of court stuff, legal stuff that I couldn't speak about. And with my ex and my daughter and, the transition in my real life of I would be crying, reading an email and shaking off camera. And then I had to walk into a scene and be happy and like pull it together. So that was the hardest thing for me.
Yeah. And, perception. It's like, people perceive you. They can have one glimpse. There can be the show can be on in someone's living room, and they see one scene, and then that's just who they think you are, right? Yeah. They don't see all the facets. They don't watch your Instagram. They don't, they didn't read the book Choices, right? They don't know all that stuff. And have you ever felt like that tug of war of like, or maybe now since you've evolved literally so much, it's so beautiful to see what has transcended and actually the real you that's coming out. Like, it's always been there, now it's just like coming out. Like, have you ever had that tug of war of like, I want people to know who I really am?
I did. Even in my late 20s when, we were under contract, you weren't allowed to say anything about the show or speak the truth. And so once we were allowed to, it was kind of like, we can finally speak our truth. And, and then we had social media too, which back then we didn't have that. So all people knew, is what they read on blogs or in Us Weekly or all the tabloids or whatever we said in an interview. That was it. now one thing that's great about social media is that you have a voice.
Yeah.
And you are accessible and you can interact with your fans and speak your truth.
Yeah, I love that so much. Oh my gosh. So you talk about this, that, you know, you were married and you were in a very toxic relationship.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
You know, my ex and I, we were off and on for 10 years, but we were only together consistently for 1 year. And that's when I was pregnant.
Wow.
And even when we were together in a relationship for a year, he was still gone for 6 months of that year because he was traveling. But in my early 20s, I think it was just this, it was more about being comfortable and, you know, we would see each other, something would happen, or there was cheating or fighting or something going on, and then we'd break up, wouldn't see each other for 6 months, and then he'd come back to the States, and, you know, he had this awakening, and something changed him, and he did seem different, and I was like, wow, maybe he really did change this time. So then I'd give him a chance, we'd get back together, and then eventually, you know, things would just start spiraling back into how it used to be. So there really wasn't a change. I just gave way too many benefits of the doubt.
Yeah. And you just let him walk all over you.
Yeah, I did. And I think at that time too, it's like I guess our relationship wasn't like a normal relationship. I was on a TV show. I was also doing movies, and I was also going to Europe, going to Australia, going everywhere. You know, co-hosting American Music Awards or the VMAs or the different shows everywhere. And we weren't together consistently. We didn't live in the same city. So I didn't really know what a real relationship was supposed to be like.
Totally.
I just liked that comfort of when we were together. Mm-hmm. It's like I felt safe because there were so many people around me taking advantage or, you know, lying to me or just wanted to be my friend for a certain reason, for information or, you know, different things.
Yeah. So he was like this consistent guy for over, you know, dang near a decade.
Yeah.
It makes sense, you know, but then when his true colors come out or his toxic or narcissistic behavior, like, oof. Balancing all that, balancing that would be so hard.
Mm-hmm. And I think when I had my daughter, Kira, that's when my eyes were finally opened. And I wasn't being pulled in a million different directions and having to travel. I was grounded and I had a purpose. And my purpose and my priority was to be a mother and the best mother. Yeah. And, you know, I turned a lot of different roles down and opportunities that would have, you know, my career would have taken off. But at that time in my life, I just felt like I wasn't ready for that and I needed to be a mother. And I was trying the best I could with my ex to make our relationship work for the sake of our daughter.
Yeah.
Which, come to find out, isn't always the best thing.
Yeah. No,
So,
it's not. It's,
yeah.
I grew up in that. I grew up with a single mom, and I always say, like, that's why I'm so strong, because of, you know, her. But at first, she tried to make it work just to do it, and it was like, no, this is horrendous, you know? So did you get pregnant before you were married?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did get pregnant before I was married. And then because I was pregnant, I was freaking out because in our family, you don't do that. You get married first. And then I did it all backwards. I don't know. So I was like, very like, we have to get married. Like, we're going to have a child together. Mm-hmm. We have to get married. We have to change our lifestyle. Like, we have to make this work. And I was determined. I was a fighter. I don't give up. I'm such a determined person, almost to a fault at times.
And I feel like you're loyal.
And very loyal.
Yeah.
So I gave it all. We tried. We were married for 9 months. And, you know, I think after we got married, it almost was worse than it had ever been. And that opened my eyes, because if a child and being married wasn't going to change someone and make them worse, nothing was. Mm-hmm. And that was it. It was like I had to rip the Band-Aid, and I had my family, and I think with it going public and having the support of my fans that I was so afraid of in the beginning and trying to hide everything, it actually helped me.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
You know, I think when we're keeping secrets, it's so hard, and we live in shame. And I did that for a moment in my life where there was like some real dark stuff going on, but I was keeping secrets.
Yeah.
And it just like hindered me. It hindered my energy. It hindered the way I lived my life. It was just like this battle, right?
Yeah.
And so like that freedom, there's so much freedom and peace of just being like, this is the way it is. Here's what's going on. And like, we're healing and dealing.
Yes.
You feel that?
Yep. And that's what I've learned too. Everybody has an opinion and a judgment. And
Yeah.
it's like, if you're true to yourself and honest with what you're going through, and yeah, everybody makes mistakes, you know, but those are my mistakes. Those are your mistakes. And that's for us to learn and move forward with.
Yeah.
And that's our relationship with God too.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, everybody loves to give advice.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the one to judge and talk to, for
Yeah.
sure. You know, I believe it was in your book that I was reading where you were talking about like the night before your wedding, and like, I deeply resonated in my own way. I got married super young, and you should. He's the best. You know, he's a great guy. I'm not going to say that, but like, it was like pressure, pressure, pressure. And when I was listening to you talk about, you know, your sisters, and you're like, didn't know if you wanted to get married or should, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so major. This is like getting married, but
Yeah.
like, what, can you take us back to that moment of like, dang, I don't want to do this, but you did?
Oh gosh, yeah. You know, the weeks leading up to that, the weeks leading up to our marriage, there were so many huge fights, and there's so many like dark, bad things going on. But you know, it's like you show up, you put a smile on your face, everything's going to be fine. We're going to work out the kinks. We could do this. Marriage is going to change everything.
Yeah.
And that night before, my sister knew, and she just was like, Drina, why are you doing this? Like, let's just get Kira, get on a plane and go. Let mom and dad deal with it. Let's just get out of here and go to another island.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were in Hawaii, and I was like, we can't, because, you know, there's so many people here that flew here from Australia, that flew here from, you know, California, like all over.
Yeah.
Like, they spent so much money. Dad spent so much money. Like, I can't let everyone down. It was more about, I was so worried about everyone else.
Yeah.
And, you know, after I did get divorced, half of the people at that wedding told me, I wish we would have told you. We were going to tell you. We knew it wasn't going to work out. We saw and heard things, and like, we wish that we would have told you. And I was like, well, everyone's coming out now
Yeah.
telling me this.
Yeah,
But
of course.
even
Yeah.
if they did, I probably would have just did what I wanted. I was
Yeah.
so hard-headed.
Yeah, and you had to learn your lesson. And what, like, so many people listening to this right now, I'm sure they're like, oh my gosh, in some way, shape, or form, they people please. They put up with this. Like, I feel like you're like, you've just gotten over this big
Like hurdle almost, like.
demon in your life,
Yes.
whatever we want to call it. Like, what advice can you give on that? Like, what have you learned? What, you know, just to not be a people pleaser?
You know, it's hard at times, but just setting boundaries and saying no. And if someone keeps pushing you and guilting you and shaming you, it's like, I said no.
Yeah.
And I either like will hang up or just walk away,
Yeah.
or it's like, then they're not respecting you.
Yeah.
But it's also putting yourself first, putting your children first. And sometimes if you need that extra strength, you know, and I know that this person's super pushy and it's going to be really hard
Yeah.
to not people please, I do say a little prayer or just ask for that strength. And it usually helps.
Yeah.
And I think also my sister or my therapist, still go to therapy.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I can't live without it.
Yeah.
You need someone to hold you accountable or someone to be your advocate and to kind of give you strength. You can't do it alone. You need your friends. You need those people around you to keep you strong.
Yeah, those safe people. Those safe, you know, I have that in one of my great friends and then in my fiance, and like they'll call BS. They'll help me. Because sometimes here's the thing, like we get so caught up in our worlds, right? You're busy. You're doing this. You're crushing it. You're making things happen. Now you're like a mother. You're literally responsible, right? And it's like all this stuff can happen so quickly that if you don't have a couple people that truly love you, that will bless you, tell you the great things, but they'll also be like, nah, I don't think that's for you, right? It's like, it's so important to have those close friends. And it's so cool you have that in your sisters.
Yeah, my sisters and my sister-in-law, they are my best friends, like the closest people to me. And thank God, you know, for my family, because I don't know what I would do without them.
Yeah, solid family life it seems like you have. Did you grow up a believer?
Yeah, we grew up going to church. My mom, we grew up singing she would sing in the car all the time. Like we'd have to wear a Sunday's best. She curled our hair every Sunday. We had to wear dresses and yeah, you know, we would go like, it's almost like we would go in bursts and then, you know, if life would come up or things would happen and then we would not go, but we would always be going throughout the year, not every weekend, but we knew who God was. We knew how to pray. You know, we had to say a prayer at dinner, before bed. So my mom really put that in us to know, like, when we would have a hard time, who to turn to and what was right or wrong.
So did you feel that when you lived in LA?
I did. And when I moved to LA, I pulled away from church. And I feel like I did get sucked into the Hollywood scene because you're just surrounded by people that are saying yes and giving you whatever you want. And there's parties and there's this and at so-and-so's house and you go, and there's pressure and just, you're being pulled. And then with alcohol and, you know, there's everything. It's just, it sucks you in. And if you don't, I would have my mom call me if she didn't hear from me every 3 or 4 days. And she'd be like, what are you doing? Get your butt down here. We're coming up to get you. You need to come down and like chill out. Like, I know you're young, you're having fun, but you're, you know, you need to come home. So I had that, which I was grateful for.
And you can tell, someone DM'd me last night because I'm listening to your book and loving it and posted it. And she was like, oh my gosh, she's my favorite. Like, like just so many people freaking out, you know? And I can tell, even though if you weren't pursuing your faith at that time, you can tell like your spirit, you have an angelic soul, and it's like you've always been protected, even though like you've gone to the other end. And when I first moved to LA, people would say to me, okay, you're either going to go to the dark side or the light side. And, you know, they're so concerned. But when you're in the vortex and you're in it, you don't even realize because it's a whole different space. But in the back of your mind, if you've had
I just got the goosebumps. It's so true.
Yeah. It's like, and listen, like you have a spirit and a soul of an achiever, of not even an achiever, but you're prolific. Like you're meant to be on camera. You're meant to be speaking. You're a leader. And so it's only natural that you were like, okay, acting, what can I do? Because there's that fighter, that girl.
There's a pull.
Yeah, there's a pull. Yeah. And, you know, I went away from my faith, like didn't pursue God, but then came back. And when I was really broken, because I'm like, what else do I do at this point? And it's the biggest blessing because it felt like that's what reconnected me to my creator. And, you know, I wondered, have you had that moment where you're like, I'm just going to surrender and give it all to God and come back home?
Yes, there's this song called I Surrender, and it's the most beautiful song. Hillsong sings it. And I would literally listen to that over and over, and I would just cry, and it just hit home. And yeah, I did surrender, and I did give up a lot of my Hollywood life and decided, you know, I don't want to live that lifestyle. I want to move back down here. I could still drive up there. It's not that far, but like, what do I really want? Like, so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is like, what do I want? And trying to figure out what I want, because I do love speaking and helping people, and I do love TV. That's all I know. Hosting, it's like I'm good at it. I love it, and I love interacting with people. So it's trying to find my I don't know.
Here's the deal. When you can have your values and I call them your standards, and it's like you can still play in those lanes, but you're the ace in the deck, meaning like how they play, you don't play that way. And it just takes having that like strong grit of standards of like, I don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think, do you go to Ocean's Church?
Yes. So yeah, I do. Do you go there too? Natalie does too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, we have to sit by each other.
Oh,
so
we do.
I've watched it the last few weeks online.
Yeah.
But I was going to Saddleback.
Okay.
And then when Rick left, I couldn't connect with the new pastor as much. I still love it. I'll go there sometimes. But everyone was like, you have to go to Oceans. It's amazing. The music, just like you feel the Holy Spirit and the worship. Like, and I went and I felt it. And my brother-in-law and I were sitting there, and like they were I forget what they were talking about, something with God, and just it was something so enlightening. And the wind blew and all the rain just like fell off the tent, and we looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh, we just got the goosebumps. Like, you feel the Holy Spirit, and that's something that was like, okay, this is our church.
Yeah. So I recently moved around February from Santa Monica to Orange County, and a huge part of it was to go to Oceans, because I went once, and I used to go to church in LA, Mosaic, if you've heard of that. But I went to Oceans, and same thing. I was like, it's like the Spirit's activated. Like you just feel like
I got the goosebumps again.
Like unleashed. And since I have made it a priority to either listen, like if I'm on a plane, I always say if I'm traveling, speaking, I will listen to it, but otherwise go if we're home. I have seen like level 10 unlock, like spiritually, and even just in my mental health and joy. It's just, there's nothing like it.
No, there isn't. And, I try to get my friends that are kind of like, no, I'm too tired. I'm like, just get up and meet me there. Let's go. Like, trust me. It's going to wake you up, like, in so many ways.
So good.
Yeah, I think that's so important too. And I listen to Rick Warren's daily devotional every day. And I just it just keeps you on the right track. And like, it really does help you with everyday life and just things that you go through that sometimes you don't know you're going to go through, but subconsciously from reading the Bible or listening to the sermons, like you'll be like, oh, I know how to deal with this. Rick said this, or, or I learned this at Oceans, or like, it helps you get through that moment or know how to deal with certain types of people that, get to you sometimes.
100%. Yeah, it's like therapy. I mean, it's better. I mean, I always say, like, I start my day with the Word of God, prayer, and praise. And I'm like, that's like how I battle the world.
Yeah.
That's
what they say every morning that you should, because it starts your day. It sets the tone for the day.
Are you sharing that with your daughter? Like, is she going?
Yeah, we both have prayer journals. Oh. So at night, she has her journal, I have mine, and we just write. She doesn't want me to read hers all the time, but sometimes I'll flip through it. And she prays a lot for our dog Lady, which passed a few weeks ago. And I'm like, oh, Kira, she misses Lady. Yeah. But it's really cute. It's just, and she goes to a Christian school, so she knows about God, and she knows how to pray at all. At the Christmas, Thanksgiving, she says the prayer for the family, and it's really, she's like a powerful little girl. Like it's amazing.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Are you dating at all?
Or? Not really. I've met a couple people here and there, but I don't know. I feel like it's so hard, and it's so hard to meet anyone here in Orange County or LA, or maybe I just haven't, I don't know. I was dating someone, and when my niece died in February, it just opened my eyes to everything. And like she's almost like a catalyst. Like, it just put life in perspective and changed everything moving forward for me. So I don't know. I have high standards now, and like
Yeah.
I might be a little too guarded, but I'm still working on opening my heart and being more vulnerable. And it's different dating with a daughter.
Yeah.
And I have Kira, 24/7. So
Yeah.
if I have a babysitter or anything, it's
Yeah.
like she's always on my mind, or like I have to rush back. It's hard.
Yeah. How old is she?
She's just turned 7. So
Okay.
she's older now where it's a little easier.
Yeah.
Where she's like, okay, mommy, she knows I'm coming home.
Yeah.
She, I explain things to her
Right.
so she understands.
But I get it though. Like if you're going to bring a man into her life, you want them, they need to be solid, or it's a whole different thing to navigate. And, after I ended a series of bad relationships and I was like, what, like I'm repeating trends from like what I saw growing up.
Yep.
What I did is I went to the beach in Malibu and I took a journal and I'm like, I am going to pursue God and pursue peace and getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And if a guy walks into my life, great.
Yeah.
But what do I need him to have? And so I wrote a list of 20 things.
Okay.
And my mentor was like, Emily, 20 is a lot. Let's just reel it back, like 5. So what's the 5 things that you will not budge on? And number 1 was loves Jesus.
I love that.
And number 2 was can lead me, because as a powerful woman who makes our own choices, we're but it's exhausting. I want a man who's a leader.
That could take care of you. And,
Because here's the thing, I'm like, if he loves the Lord, he's going to be a great leader, and he's going to, hopefully not cheat on me or do all these toxic things that have happened, right? Yeah. And so 1 month later, I met my fiance. Wow. Yeah, but then
he had all the 20 qualities.
Well, he's got 5, we got to but why I share this with you is because I got so clear on what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't want to raise a man.
Yeah.
I don't want to raise anybody. Mm-hmm. And for you, you're already raising a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Yes. That's how I feel. And as soon as I see that a guy is needy or needs too much attention and like I can't already have one of those. Like I don't have it in me. Yeah. Like at the end of the day,
you need a secure man, because you are out there, you're doing your thing, and he's got to be so secure.
Yeah. Secure, integrity, loves Jesus, loyal. And with kids, they've got to be good with kids, and kids are so intuitive, and animals, they know instantly. Yeah. But again, with Kira, my daughter, it's learning when to introduce that person to her. So in my mind, it's usually like a couple of the guys I dated, I would never bring her around alone. I would always go with groups to kind of see the interaction or see how she was, or, she's so used to having me all the time that if anyone takes too much of my attention, she's like, Mommy, you're ignoring me. I'm like, Kira. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm just having a conversation. You could go play, give me 10 minutes. Yeah. It's hard, but I love your top. What were your other 3? That was loves Jesus, can lead you. Yeah. And then what were the others?
And is motivated. So doing his own thing, because being a woman that is driven, it's like, I don't want to be the star of the show all the time. Like you've got to have your own thing that you're working on. I don't want him to get lost in my identity, which can easily happen with a powerful woman. Yeah. And then you don't have that polarity. Yep. So it's like you lose that attraction. Yes. For sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then health, because it's such a big deal to me, and I just feel like if you don't respect yourself,
Yeah, and that with health, that, self-discipline, self-control, motivation, that all comes with it too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are really good ones.
Yeah. So just do it. Trust me.
I'm going to make a list.
Yeah. Let's make a list for you.
Make one.
I want to switch gears for 1 second and talk a little bit about, cause I'm really big on safety, and I know this sounds boring, but trust me, it's not, people.
No, yeah.
So, obviously you have had instances where people tried to break into they broke into your home, like you're a public person. How has that shaped you? Are you learning from that?
Oh yeah. that whole bling ring.
Yeah.
They broke into my house, and it's just, I'm always on alert. No matter where I go, I'm always like looking over my shoulder. And security and safety, especially with my daughter. And even when I post sometimes on Instagram, I don't always post in real time.
Same. Yeah.
So like I might post something, and usually when I get in bed at night and I got Kira to bed, I'm laying there, I'm like, okay, got to go through my emails, my messages, what can I post?
Yeah.
And I'll post stuff from like 2 months ago,
Yeah.
but it looks like it was in the day, maybe from that day. So
Yeah.
nobody knows
Yeah.
where I'm at, what I'm doing,
Yeah.
always in real time.
Yeah.
And if I'm at home, sometimes I will, but that's my safe place.
Yeah.
That's very secure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, because I had a schizophrenic stalker, and he would show up at my old house, and he thought we were meant to be together, and he would stare into my camera, and like he showed up one time. I was coming back from a press junket for Into the Blue 2 I did, and my driver was driving up, and I saw him at my door, and I was like, oh, keep going, don't stop, go, go. He's like, what? And I was like, don't stop. And the guy turned around and saw us, and he started chasing us down the road. And so I had one of the cops' cell phone numbers for emergencies, and I called, and he's like, you gotta call. I'm like, okay, I'll call 911. But I guess at that point, it was always like anytime I called 911, it was like TMZ got it, and it was like this huge thing. So for private matters, I was like, can I just call someone personally if I'm afraid, and they could just come over or like park in front of my house while I get there, like to make sure he's not hiding in the bushes or something. So that scared me a lot.
100%.
He had knives in his backpack. He had drawings of us saying with poems that we belonged in heaven together. So I had a restraining order against him for 13 to 14 years. And also when I had Kira, when I got pregnant with her, I was like, I'm not staying in this house.
No.
Like, I'm out of here. Peace out, LA.
Yeah.
Everything was too accessible
Yeah.
up there. And I moved back down here, and it was like way more mellow and safe and more family oriented. And with fame, I don't think people realize, even on these YouTube stars now, and Instagram, you're giving so much information up, and people that don't know you do become obsessed with you and think they know you. And if someone wants to find you, they can find you. Trust me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So just be careful and smart about what you post. And, where you go.
100%. I mean, I do that now as well, where it's like something will happen earlier on, but then when I'm laying in bed, that's when I post everything.
Yeah.
And I don't have a kid, but that's what I always am doing that now, or not leaving a trail, or it's like I live in this vicinity, but you don't really know exactly where I live.
Exactly.
Then you're not going to find out, and it's not even to the magnitude of what happened to you. But I had someone follow me home from a speaking engagement once, and it changed me forever. Like forever, of just being conscious. And ladies, even if you're not a star on one of these accounts or, doing that, we still have to be mindful and like really think about safety for sure, because you just never know.
No, you really don't. And I had to stop watching Law and Order and all of those shows, CSI, which I used to love, but I live alone. And so at night I would psych myself out that someone was, what if they come up here and they could get in this?
Yeah.
So I have all these cameras and this and that. And my brother lives close, but still it's like, I was like, I can't just live in fear all the time. But there are things that you can do to protect yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And pray a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Turning to your faith and just asking, like, God can, like, rebuke the spirit of fear over me. And you know what I mean? Like, just get it off me.
Yeah. Or it's Archangel St. Michael for security. And,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I listen, like, I respect you so much.
Thank you.
Like, you are the real deal, honey. Because you not only have had this like great celebrity fame, like that's not even that. What I respect most about you is you have put yourself in service mode, and in your easy to read, so entertaining book called Choices, you bear all to serve others. I want you to sit in on that for a minute. Because, a lot of people want to talk to you about the dating and the drama and the this and the that and the da-da-da-da, and all that stuff is fun. But I take it a step further, and I'm like, this woman went on a limb to serve all these other women and to really help us become more courageous and be aware of our choices. And I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. When I did the book, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I have to be vulnerable and open. And it was so hard. And it took a while to write because I would shut down and be like, I can't do this. I don't want to expose that. Like, why would I expose that? And like, some things not everyone needs to know. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to talk about things. So I'm glad I did. I did it to help others and not to feel, so they don't feel alone or lost, and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and you can be strong. And, I got a lot of amazing feedback from fans of stories that even when I was going through my divorce and they would see things online, I was getting messages of people explaining what they were going through. And that also helped encourage me to write my book, because I was like, I'm writing to each of these people individually. Maybe I should just put it all in one place.
Yeah.
Where they can all read it, and just hopefully it'll help and inspire other people and give them hope and guidance, and they can learn from my lessons. And
100%. 100%. What's next for you?
Well, we are still doing the Hills podcast, the Hills Rewatch. That we had a little bit of a setback, but we're going to start up again soon. And then I have 2 other projects lined up that's in the TV world.
Cool.
But I can't say what they are right now. We're still, crossing the T's, dotting the I's and all that. But that, and just, I'm actually going to speak on another panel in Scottsdale on August 24th.
Okay.
And just, it's all for women, and just interacting and connecting and just speaking out from what I've been through and answering questions. And
yeah, you're a voice for sure. And I'm really excited to see how God's going to continue to use you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go.
I know. I pray about it. I'm like, God, what is my purpose? Like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, where am I going? And I just pray about it and ask for guidance and faith, and just to hold my hand and lead me where I need to go, surround me with the right people.
Yeah.
So,
well, what breaks your heart?
Gosh, what I've really tapped into lately is the whole child sex trafficking thing. And Tim Ballard is so amazing. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I need to. I watched his other documentary a few years ago, and that ripped my heart out. And it made me feel so angry inside. Like, I wanted to help and to fight back for these kids. It's just I could cry. But that really, really touches home, where I want to kind of help with that. And then, anything with kids, especially after you have a child, and it just it's a whole different perspective. Yeah. And helping other women in my position, and teenagers going through hard times. There's nothing really out there for them. Therapy is so expensive nowadays that kids can't go get the help they need, and there's a lot of depression and mental illness. And it'd be really cool to start something with a bunch of professionals that are doing it out of their hearts, not for money, just to help these kids and give them guidance.
Beautiful. Lean into that. I always say, and that's how I found my purpose, is figuring out what broke my heart. And that's really pulls me to live that charged life, to serve at such a higher level. It's always coming back to that. For sure. So I think just the teenagers, helping any way I can with, I give a lot to charities with the sex trafficking, and then just women that need help, that they're stuck in positions they feel stuck in with bad men, and they don't
they feel like they don't have a way out, and that's why they stay. But there is a way out, and I just feel like they need guidance to the right people and places.
What would you say to a woman right now that is in a shitstorm of a relationship?
You know, they probably feel isolated and alone and scared because that's all they know and what they're used to. And if they have kids, you know, that's their normal. They're afraid to be left alone or to be on their own. But there's so many women like that out there that just Google or talk to someone. Once you open up and you make a friend, that's all it takes is talking to someone.
Yeah.
Like,
and admitting it.
Yeah. And so just wanting that help, whatever you kind of put out there and talk about and really want, it'll come to you. You just have to want it.
That's right. Oh my gosh. You're amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Instagram, Audrina Patridge.
Yeah.
And my book is available on Amazon or Target or wherever you can buy books. And everything, Twitter or Threads.
I know we're learning the thread game up in here. Oh, well, let's go to church.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.